Oh, a lot of stupidity goes on.
Sometimes I'm not sure if it's intended or if it's just all accidental. I think we maybe know the answer to that, don't we?
Right. But it's obvious that 8 years ago on this day, what appeared at that time to be stupidity was not.
We have roughly, a couple of hundred of coincidences that ought to be labeled as incompetence or coincidences to justify or verify the government's conspiracy theory about the 19 guys with the box cutters.
Right, and an old man on a dialysis machine in a cave, yeah. But, even if you allow all of those coincidences and all of that, there are some things which are just physical impossibilities. And among them, I would say the collapse of Building 7.
For even the neophyte to see, it just looks wrong. And wasn't it Dan Rather that said during the event itself, it looks like an implosion like you see in Las Vegas?
Yeah. And the reason it looks that way is because it was.
Funny how that happens. Funny how that works out.
Yeah.
And, of course, as we know, NIST finally came through with their explanation that it was fires burning down the building. And I don't mean to be flippant here or make light of this, but, why do they spend all the time wiring the buildings when they can just light some office furniture on fire? It will set the building at free fall speed right into its footprint. They could never explain that, Bob, and they always try to avoid it in every debunking piece and every hit piece. They just don't really want to touch it.
Yeah. Well, what people have to understand is that the National Geographic Channel, which just came out with this most recent propaganda piece, is not owned by the National Geographic magazine, the National Geographic Society. It is owned by Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation, the same people that own Fox News. They have the majority ownership. Yeah, 2/3.
Yes, and the Politico, which is the rising blog, I guess now, it originally started out with Riggs Bank as their parent company, and as you probably remember, Riggs Bank tied into the Bush crime family, used to launder money, drug money, and to fund terrorists. They should be commenting on 9/11, considering where they come from. There's nobody clean out there, Bob, that I can tell. I mean, you mentioned Lou Dobbs. He's one. John Stossel. So a couple of guys in the mainstream media, but there's just nobody clean out there.
Yeah, and there are dang few in Congress as well. I mean, there are some people that ought to be saved, like Ron Paul and Dennis Kucinich, but when you get beyond them, there are darn few incumbent members of Congress that should not just be all thrown out.
And let's bring back Cynthia McKinney and Max Cleland, and let's put you in.
Yeah, right. After all, I was elected. If you believe exit polls, I won by 12 points. But that's not what the Diebold touchscreen voting machine said.
You were robbed.
Yep.
Bob. It's amazing what you did with that congressional election. You did, even after the vote fixing, almost win the election. You had no money and no support from your party.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks to a man by the name of Rahm Emanuel, who is now, guess what, Obama's chief of staff.
Did you get that firsthand, that he didn't want anything to do with people like you, even though they needed that majority in 2006?
Yep. And in Florida alone, there were a dozen of us, all combat veterans, all running against the wars. And not one of us got a penny from the Democratic Party.
Did you ever see any memos, or how do you pin this on Rahm Emanuel? Because he's the new Karl Rove. It sounds exactly like something he would do. What evidence did you have that he personally tried to fix that?
Well, he was the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. He made the decisions on funding.
Him and Howard Dean, neither of them.
Well, Howard Dean was not involved directly in that. As a matter of fact...
It might have been Terry McAuliffe at that time, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boy, if we had you now. I'm not giving up hope, though, Bob. Look at the change happening. You know, this morning, and we'll be playing some clips in the second hour of broadcast today, folks. This morning, we spent 2 hours with Yuki Fujita, the counselor, parliament member of the legislature in Japan, whose party just won a stunning upset. They took out a ruling party who had been in power in a one-party system for 54 years, Bob, in a landslide victory.
Wonderful. Yuki is a great guy. I spent several days with him. We were roommates in Australia.
He sure seems to have it all worked out, and he's very brave. And the fact that he sat from 11 to 1 a.m. Japanese time to do 2 hours with myself and India and Asia was just incredible. The things he said was just monumental, and I felt so honored to speak to him. Bob, we're not going to have a lot of time because we have a lot of guests today, but I wanted to make sure to tell people about the tour that you're doing, the Patriots tour that's been spinning around the country, around the globe now for the last couple of years. I know you've had some cities cancel here on the tour, which is a shame because it's such a great event to attend. It's so uplifting, so inspiring. You're such a great speaker. I'd like to tell people to write you at, is it still HQ at thepatriots.us?
That'll get to me.
And if you want to set up events, no matter what city you're in, and work with Dr. Bob Bowman's team, bring him in to talk to your people, help him fundraise for this organization, and get a real thrill for all your people, why don't you contact them at hq@thepatriots.us. I've been, Bob, I've seen you speak in fact, I've spoken with you a couple of times, and it's just always so compelling. What are the cities you are going to now, and how do people go to those?
Well, we have finished a good bit of the tour. We are going to Boston on the 1st of October and New York City on the 5th of October. We'll be in Nashville and Atlanta. Atlanta, I think, is the 2nd of November. In between there are a lot of cities that haven't confirmed yet, and it's a shame. The crowds have been smaller this year. Part of it's due to the economy, and I think part of it is due to Democrats that figure now that they've got Obama in there, everything's going to be okay, and it's not.
Boy, you said it. But the tide is turning, and on this 8th anniversary, we acknowledge the work of yourself and all the great truthers out there that have brought us this far. ThePatriots.us, Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Bob Bowman. Thank you so much for spending 20 minutes with us today. You have a great day. We'll talk to you real soon, Bob.
Yeah, bye-bye.
We'll come right back, folks. Stay with us. Manny Badia.
Attention.